The Texas Parks and Wildlife television series is supported in part by Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, conserving the wild things and wild places of Texas thanks to members across the state. Additional funding is provided by Toyota. Your local Toyota dealers are proud to support outdoor recreation and conservation in Texas. Toyota, let's go places.
Coming up on Texas Parks and Wildlife.
They try to catch as much water as they can in the soil. Springs are still running in the midst of this historic drought.
The phone calls always come in during trout season. Everybody's wanting to know when we're stocking, especially the canyon tail rays.
Hey, there he goes!
They're a true icon of the southwestern desert.
Texas Parks and Wildlife, a television series for all outdoors.
It's a very difficult environment to ranch in. There's not a consistent rainfall pattern.
In South Texas, as far as the climate goes, we have very frequent droughts. You know, if we're not in a drought, we're probably about to go into one. It creates a lot of challenges managing for livestock or wildlife.
Bottom line, we manage for diversity.
I'm Joseph Fitzsimons, and we're here at the San Pedro Ranch. We're in southwest Texas, about as south and west as you can get and still be in Texas. From the closest point to the border, it's about 3 miles to the Rio Grande, the Rio Bravo. Our grandfather bought this ranch in 1932, and our father operated it for many years, and my sister and I have been very fortunate to operate the San Pedro as well.
It was originally a Spanish land grant from 1812.
This is the marker for the King's Highway, the lower road of the Camino Real up to San Antonio. So people have been crossing here for a while. We're not the first ones here. San Pedro Spring is mentioned in early conquistadors and explorers' journals starting in the early 1700s. It's a very special place. It's very much like it's been for the last 100 years.
I'm Chase Curry, I'm the general manager here. From an operations standpoint, our two sources of revenue are wildlife and cattle. Pretty bull. We just finished weaning our fall-born calves. We feed them, just helps gentle them down, relieves the stress, and then, you know, here in another 4 or 5 days, they'll go on to pasture.
Come on, boys.
These cattle can go elsewhere and do very well.
They're not going to go any place that's tougher than here.
It's important to the family that this ranch remain a working ranch. While the cattle are important from an economic standpoint, they're also very important in what we do here on the ground to manage for a more complete landscape. Currently, we are in the worst drought that this particular area of Texas has experienced in roughly 90 years here in southwest Emmett County. We didn't think it could get any drier, but it has. Despite the historic drought, we've been very diligent in our grazing, keeping the cattle on the move, resting pastures. We actually have the cattle in a pasture right now that we haven't been in almost a year. We don't move cattle based on a day on the calendar, but it's more of a planned grazing.
Managing their livestock and their wildlife numbers to leave some residual habitat in these dry times. It's really a testament on how they operate down here. The habitat is still as healthy as it is, even in this historic drought we're in right now. When you do get the rains back, it's going to respond. They've been a great partner with Texas Parks and Wildlife, very good cover plan as well for quail. Every year we come out here and we evaluate the browsing pressure on the woody species out here. This is a fresh deer bite. We come out here and count stem tips with Chase and monitor this over the long term and set harvest rates also based on this. So it's been very enjoyable to work with the San Pedro Ranch every year to do this. When you have very little herbaceous and grass cover, you get a lot of runoff and you lose a lot of water off your property. So they try to catch as much water as they can in the soil. And you can really see that the springs are still running in the midst of this historic drought that we're under right now in this part of South Texas.
Watershed management is really key to how you manage an arid rangeland.
Some of their primary creek bottoms, they've restricted from livestock grazing to protect those sensitive areas. And the stuff they've done here as far as repairing riparian function is also really interesting.
We worked with Bill Zedike out in New Mexico to restore eroded creek bed, basically.
By correcting these long-standing erosion problems, we've been able to slow the water down and help it percolate to the water table for the San Pedro Springs.
Prepare the land for when it does rain, and that's the key.
They have a wetland area they built.
It was an old caliche pit. We reseeded with lots and lots of natives and wildflowers.
So we took one of the least productive areas on the ranch and we turned it into one of the most productive areas on the ranch. Probably one of the biggest steps they took to preserve the San Pedro was a conservation easement.
We donated a conservation easement. So this ranch will stay together and be a whole habitat, whether we own it or not.
And this is in perpetuity. This is forever. You are saying to your children and generations on, we value these very special, sensitive areas that they're worth protecting.
Our father was an early adopter of holistic resource management. Our cattle operation is part of our wildlife management operation. And holistic management doesn't treat those as being on separate lands because they're not. Our father always told us to manage for the drought, and the times of rain and plenty will take care of themselves.
I can definitely remember my dad instructing me on riding. He was an excellent horseman. It's a passing of knowledge and tradition. Joseph putting Hayden on the horse. You're handing off the knowledge and the appreciation to each subsequent generation. Now we're in our 5th generation, and I like to think of my grandfather looking down, smiling broadly.
I hope my children and grandchildren have an opportunity to experience the challenges of managing a great piece of habitat like this, running a working ranch. You learn a lot managing through tough times.
The name of the game is adaptability.
We feel it is a tribute to our grandfather and our father and the whole family to keep the place going. It's a great life.
It's stocking time at the A.E. Wood Fish Hatchery. The hatchery raises thousands and thousands of rainbow trout. And in the winter, they're loaded up and off to the Guadalupe River.
go the fish. There they go.
Each stocking, we put out 2,200 rainbow trout. They're divided up on all the stocking sites that we have. The phone calls always come in during trout season. Everybody's wanting to know when we're stocking certain water bodies, especially the canyon tail rays.
There you go, fly guy. Hey, there he goes.
One of the reasons why rainbow trout are possible on the Guadalupe River just below canyon tail race is because when they dammed up the Guadalupe River, it actually enabled the water temperatures to stay cool year-round. Anytime that we go to one of these stockings, the fishermen follow.
You see the tiniest little movement. There he is. And I just love catching these fish. Ooh. They'll jump, they'll run, they'll do everything for you. It's a blast. I love getting in the water with them. I got 3 pair of waders in the car, and here I am in my jeans soaked.
I'm just using power bait right now. Yep, we got her. Okay, we're ready to go fishing. Come on, take it. Thank you, thank you. That's how you catch a fish.
We used to catch these in Canada. This is where I'm from. So this is a real treat for me.
Yep.
Ooh.
Along a lonesome stretch of highway on the furthest fringe of Big Bend country, Bonnie McKinney and Robert Pettis are out to capture some birds.
Maybe a little early. And there's one right over there and one right there. There's tons of tracks. We've been trapping birds at Candelaria, Texas.
There's one right there.
The birds they are after are Gamble's quail, a species found across the desert Southwest.
Once you get into New Mexico and Arizona, the species becomes much more common, but in our state, it's very limited.
The goal is to reestablish these birds further east, where they were once also found. While Gamble's have fared better than some, every quail species in the state has lost some ground.
There are 4 species of quail in Texas: the Montezuma quail, the Gamble's quail, the scale quail, also called a blue quail, and the bobwhite. Certainly the most popular and well-known species is the bobwhite quail.
But the iconic bobwhite is in trouble.
Over the past 20, 30 years, we've seen serious declines across its entire range, including Texas. Fundamentally, conservationists agree that the root cause is changes in the quality and quantity of habitat.
Interest in restoring this vanishing native habitat has brought conservation groups and private landowners together at the Atwater's Prairie Chicken National Wildlife Refuge.
Nice to meet you guys. I'm Robert. It's really exciting to see this group of folks and private landowners just come together for a common cause. Both of these birds, as well as other grassland bird species, require this prairie habitat.
Prairie grasses provide shelter, seeds, and insects for birds, but that's not all.
Well, this is a sample of native grass. This plant contributes to the health of the land. This is the way you conserve moisture. Man's come in and ripped out a lot of this grass, this native grass, and planted what we call improved grasses, which is really not improved. They're invasive species like Bermuda grass, Bahia grass, and they don't give back to the soil. They take from the soil.
To restore native grasses where they have been lost, seed is harvested from a tall grass prairie at the Atwater's Refuge.
Well, obviously the best seed to have is to have local ecotypes, because if it grows here, it's going to grow down the road. Out here, it's a little blue stem. It's your target plant. We found out that we couldn't do it alone. To have more birds, you had to have connectivity. You had to have one ranch attached another to another. And now we're working with landowners that represent around 30,000 acres in about 10 counties.
We know from years and years of research, and it's a very well-researched bird, we know that habitat's the key.
And as habitat is improved through native grass seeding as well as managed grazing and prescribed fire, not just bobwhite benefit.
In general, grassland birds in North America have been declining over the past 50 years or so, and it's because of loss of large-scale habitat and big landscapes. We can produce quail. We can produce habitat that makes more birds. We just need more of it.
In South Texas brush country, a different kind of quail needs some habitat help. The scaled or blue quail.
Scaled quail have declined at about 5% per year in South Texas for the last 20 years.
Researchers from Texas A&M Kingsville are on the case.
Habitat's looking pretty good here.
We've been doing a general scaled quail ecology study on 5 different ranches.
Looking much better.
And the landowners have graciously allowed us access to their properties to put radio transmitters on birds and allow our graduate students to follow them and collect the data that they need.
There is a lot to learn about this South Texas subspecies.
We don't have really any good idea of survival and general nest success, all these general ecology type questions.
A lot of this is fairly new, what we're finding with this research. Here in South Texas, they're liking the thicker brush. Watch that kick. The rate it's being lost, it's going to be really important in the future that we understand what happens when we attempt to restore the habitat to the way it was before the declines.
What is already understood is that large areas of rangeland which once held scaled quail have been transformed to monocultures.
Wow. Yep. This is buffalo grass.
Such grass might be good for cattle grazing, but for quail, it's a problem.
Quail can't walk through this.
This is a pretty extensive barrier, it appears.
So, part of the research on this ranch is temporarily turning this into this. With exotic grass removed, it will be reseeded.
We'll be planting a very diverse mix of native grasses and forbs.
Further research will measure quail response to the restored habitat.
Beautiful bird. I think they're a symbol of unspoiled native habitat.
Another beautiful bird, the Montezuma quail, once ranged across the Texas Hill Country and Trans-Pecos. In the state today, it is limited to some western mountains and only the southwest edge of the Edwards Plateau.
When we first bought property here back in 2000, one of the things I noticed was that we had Montezuma quail here. A kind of a relic population here in the hill country. Started talking to some of my neighbors about the fact that we had the birds and what we could do habitat-wise to possibly improve things for the birds.
The Hefts and their neighbors work together to improve wildlife habitat on their individual properties.
Same scenario, big ranch broke up, smaller places, people were moving cedar, doing things 100 acre, 200 acre parcel at a time, and people seeing and hearing these birds.
First Montezuma we saw in the place went right under this bush, and they just froze. And I didn't know what they were.
We've done some prescribed burning to try to help the grass cover come back, and a lot of the thick cedar areas cleared the junipers. The birds very much select for that habitat on the left that's been cleared and not for that closed canopy cedar break you see on the right. The birds, you know, preferring areas that have good grass cover. We've had birds nesting right here around the house.
Really has done a great job with this piece of property here. This will be point number 1 that we'll sample here. What we're going to do...
Call surveys and further study by Texas Parks and Wildlife and A&M Kingsville will determine if habitat work is increasing Montezuma numbers, but anecdotal evidence looks promising.
We really like to see them because, of course, knowing you're dealing with a species that's been so reduced in range and numbers, hopefully together we can kind of help them to recover over some more of their historic habitat.
Back in the Big Bend,
There's a bunch over there, too. There's a trap full.
Gamble's quail are taking the bait.
The trapping's going very well.
Biologists work quickly to collect the birds.
3. Once the birds come in the trap, you don't want to leave them there too long.
All right, 14. Not a bad start.
You're checking traps, you're taking birds out, you're resetting the trap. You've got to be actively driving up and down the road, checking traps on the fly.
Here's one.
The team gathers the birds and collects data about each quail, fitting them with identifying leg bands.
I love these birds. You're the most talkative.
Bonnie McKinney works on the land where these birds will be restored and originally proposed this cooperative project.
I'm the wildlife coordinator at the Adams Ranch, which is actually called El Carmen Land and Conservation Company. We were really wanting to bring the Gamble quail back. Historically, they were found 10 miles up the road at the Black Gap.
Both location and extensive habitat improvement have made El Carmen an ideal reintroduction site.
Through the work that we've done landscape-wise, opening up the floodplain, preventing the erosion, putting in waters for wildlife, created some very good Gamble's quail habitat. 88 birds.
So, with a suitable home awaiting
That's a lot of birds.
and a full load on hand, it's time to hit the road.
They're kept in the transport cages overnight, and then the following morning, they're released into the new habitat at El Carmen.
As soon as they're in place and given an opening, the birds eagerly return to their former range.
Everybody flew strong. That's great. No injuries, no mortalities. So that's wonderful.
And there's more good news. After 2 seasons, the birds are raising chicks.
Knowing that we're working on a project that's helping bolster population of the Gamble's quail, it's exciting.
There is much yet to be done to improve the state of quail in Texas, but there is also hope for a brighter future.
We've seen the results. In some of these areas where we're doing this work, we're hearing them in areas where we haven't heard them.
One thing is already clear. The state of quail depends on the state of their native habitat, and improving that will depend on people working together.
Our birds have to have places to go. We're losing habitat every day. And by linking these properties up, I think we can make a big difference.
Unfortunately, quail don't have any say-so in the matter. And it's going to be up to us to take care of those who can't take care of themselves.
This series is supported in part by Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, conserving the wild things and wild places of Texas thanks to members across the state. Additional funding is provided by Toyota. Your local Toyota dealers are proud to support outdoor recreation and conservation in Texas. Toyota, let's go places.